friends. This is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average babes come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A place where being yourself is the ultimate goal, where your opinion, your story, and your individual experience matters. Join me, your host B, and my guests for real and raw talks every week, laying it all out there so we can all help each other learn more, grow deeper, and evolve collectively. Now keep in mind, as a disclaimer, no one here is an expert and no one is giving any advice. This is strictly our opinions, thoughts, feelings, and for entertainment purposes only. Now with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. I hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy and I'm the host of the show. And today, you guys, we're on episode 200. Woo! I really, in my mind, had a big celebration happen for this intro. I was going to get like some confetti and have a huge party. Maybe I'll try and do some like post editing, like excitement. Like, what? Are my iPhone supposed to be doing fun stuff when I make these? No, it's not doing it. Okay, cool. Whatever. Anyways, guys, episode 200. I am so excited. I cannot believe this. I have one of my OGs joining me today to talk about our journey through the last 200 episodes together. And if you guys can see, if you're watching video, you can see that I've got a new background. I have updated, and your girl got a sign in a celebration of the 200 episodes. I thought I'd make it official with Be Real Babe sign. If you were just listening audio, you guys, got a new neon sign and just updated the background a bit with some colors. And for those that have been around for a while, you'll recognize the two colors because these are the colors of season 1 and season 7 that we just had. But I'm so excited, you guys. I cannot believe that I'm 200 episodes in. I don't know when I'm going to stop. I don't think anytime soon, at least not until at least maybe probably 300. I could see myself doing at least another 100 episodes, but we all know I'm a liar and I say I won't, but I am addicted and I love it. And I just enjoy bringing this information, and I enjoy the accountability of project and learning new stuff and meeting new people and sharing their story. And it's just a constant flow of education for me, and really an excuse to get together with my girlfriends all the time too. So there's just so many net positives in it, even though, as you guys have always seen, I've had issues with the internet, Riverside, my microphone lately. I've had to learn how to edit on a laptop that just doesn't want to stay awake for more than 5 minutes. So it doesn't come without trials and tribulations, but the energy and the happiness it brings me and the just completeness that I feel after every single episode is worth all of that. So again, as I always say, I highly recommend chasing your dreams, even if people don't understand it, even though it might not be a financial gain, even though it might seem crazy at times. Who fucking cares? Just do it and have a good time. That's all that matters. But before we get into this amazing episode with Hales chatting about all of our journey so far together on the podcast, just remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you are listening on YouTube or Rumble, Spotify, and Apple as well. You can turn on notifications and leave a review if you can help. That really helps me, you guys. Every time I see one, I get super excited. So really appreciate when you take the time to leave a review. And if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and TikTok at the Be Real Babe or the Be Real Babe podcast. I am halfway through. I think I've got about a month or a month and a half left of episodes by the time this one launches. So if you are interested on being on season 8, please reach out. Or if you're interested on being in the spring season, if you have something coming on in the spring that you want to share with me, please let me know. I'm more than happy to book you in, because there is going to, of course, be a season 9 in the spring starting in March. So in January, I'll be planning that, which is really not that far away, you guys. Also coming up soon after this launches, it'll be a couple weeks until my 38th birthday. 38th? 39? You kind of get up there, you start forgetting. I'm pretty sure it's 38. Yeah, 38. So yeah, crazy times. Time isn't real. Things are flying. I'm appreciative. Thank you guys so much. I can't thank you guys enough. So I'm going to shut the fuck up and let's get to this amazing 200th episode. All right, babes, it's time to get on to the show. And with me today, I have an OG babe joining me for our 200th celebration. Hales, hey babe.
Hey, dude.
I'm so excited, man.
How's it going?
For one, I get to see you. For 200 episodes.
Right? Dude. 200.
That's nuts.
I remember the balloons with
oh my
one.
gosh, yes. And I forgot that. I was like, oh, maybe I have time. We might have time. So if
That
we
was
have
our
time, I might do.
10K plays.
Yep.
Like, I remember, like, we're in the 2s.
Yes. Yes, I know. And I was looking back too at all of our episodes, and we're going to go over our joint episodes, but it's just funny how numbers line up and how timing is, because yeah, it was 1, 2, 3 that we hit 10,000, and then we had our
Mhm.
100 celebration. And I actually, going through this, was going back to go through like how many episodes has Hales been on and which ones for us to go over. And it's just so fun going through and seeing, like,
I
even
love
just for
that.
myself, like, and you guys, like watching us all grow, and just like the backgrounds, the like what we're doing,
All the changes, all the
all the changes.
differences.
Yeah, and just like with us, and like, I don't know, my hair's giving me life lately, and like
Yeah.
even just like talking, and just our personal lives too. And I just think it's so neat that we've had this like digital journey.
Well, it's a digital diary, right? Of
Yeah.
yeah, like the journey we went on, and I love it.
Yeah, and I
That's I
go
think
back.
that's the fun part is it's like I can it's like forever memorialized, you know?
Yeah, and I always get like super proud of us, because all of us had faced so many fears, and like, and I still do.
Mhm.
Like, don't get me wrong, that doesn't really go away, I don't think, but sometimes, especially depending on the topic, but like
Yeah.
facing so many fears of like just owning what we wanted to say, and understanding that we can change, and digitally stamping your opinion is nerve-wracking
Putting your
sometimes.
opinion out for the world to comment on and to judge and to see and to like only see that side of you, so hold some kind of opinion of you is it's a mixed bag of
It is,
emotions.
especially in like such a political and like
Yeah,
cancel
we did it
culture
in we
state.
did it with a backbone of just political rebellion, I guess you can say.
It is. And I think so now I feel so good, because we went through, I think, the hardest times when it was to do that. Now it's like even if I've never really had a problem, let's say, most people probably the same way, saying that they support like Trump or would vote for Trump. But
Hmm.
I feel like in the last couple of years, like most people didn't really want to say that, and things like that. So I feel like the political sphere, and being able to have different opinions but not necessarily be so disrespectful all the time, I
Yeah,
do feel like there has been progression in that. And
I
sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but
I thought this weekend. So this weekend I went to the UCP AGM in Red Deer
okay, yeah.
and their annual general meeting. So Danielle Smith was there. I got to shake her hand, and she called Evie a cutie. It was pretty cool, but I thought that too, like from where I was at the beginning, all of this, not really giving two flying farts about politics, to
Mhm.
here I am, a UCP member. I have my necklace somewhere that I was like, I'm gonna keep this because it's got like official UCP, my name, my barcode, like
Oh,
my number for my membership and stuff. And although it was like, I don't know, like it's hard to explain. I support it. I'm not like I don't know everyone's details. I don't know
mhm,
everyone's last name. I don't know half the people that were running. Like I know who I wanted to vote for.
mhm.
I wanted to keep Danielle Smith and vote for the general or the central director and stuff, but it was just crazy to see how far we've come in our on my political journey for one because yeah like went from bitching about it not bitching but bitching
Yeah,
about it on our
criticizing it,
podcast or on the
criticizing
podcast
it. Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
yeah like making going and doing something and making a difference and
Mhm.
like trying to like I know it's not the way I was fighting a year or two ago but it's the way that I feel like yeah you gotta if you want
Next
to make a
step.
difference it's small steps small things and she did win so there we go
Amazing.
or at least at our AGM it was a 91.5%
Ooh.
positive to like you were satisfied with leadership
Yep.
so
That's
it was
amazing.
sweet.
Yeah, and this, I think for us too, I think most Canadians can relate. Like before the pandemic, we didn't really feel like we maybe needed to. Like I think we probably did.
Mhm.
There was, I'm sure, degrees of where we maybe, but where
You're
at our
involved in
age though.
however affects you and in certain
Exactly.
spots like bits and pieces but I am confident in saying that I was very illiterate and
Yeah.
didn't really know or truthfully give a shit about it.
No, I was
I
very,
didn't let it
yes.
affect me nor did it.
No. And I think that's where people say, like, I think we did feel like there was a privilege being in Canada at certain times, because
Yeah,
the people were managing the country very well. People wanted to come here for lots of different reasons, because it was like the American dream, but just like a little bit more nature and Canadian, just
I
a
feel
little
like
bit more redneck,
it was one of those destinations, yeah, where people are like, yeah, we're moving to Canada. Like I had family
Yeah,
from England that wanted to move here. There's people,
exactly.
yeah, like we're moving to Canada. It's like, yeah, it's like the States, but better. Like
Yeah, exactly. And
we've
like
got the
maybe less,
beautiful like natural stuff
yeah,
like it was a place to be and our generation has watched that go from we are up here cool place to live to like we're like near the bottom now like
nobody wants to come here anymore. And people are
it's
fleeing.
depressing.
Yes. And like I just talked on
Being
Past
proud Canadians and all, and how much we love
yes.
our country, like depressing.
It is, yeah, and it's you could be proud of the country and love the country and not be proud of the people running it and the government, and then also be
For
slightly
sure.
disappointed that it takes to you having like us being mandated for the vaccines or like whatever
To
it
get a
is
freaking,
to
yeah.
get it, and it sucks, but I think that's like a part of it. And so I kind of said with BC with the elections, like
Yeah.
unfortunately, until people are affected by NDP policy, they're not going to necessarily understand
No,
the
you're
people
not going
that
to
are.
understand the full
Exactly.
ramifications of your decision of, because hell, like I'm not gonna lie, I voted Trudeau in.
There you go. That's fair. I did
I was
not.
one
I
of
didn't
them.
vote
I
at
was
the
I
time,
was
so that was like you might as well
unfortunately,
have.
Nick and I were one of the ones that like put him in, and it you have to. I just wish more people were willing to, yeah, admit like, yeah, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Totally. He
Is it
was
now? No.
no. Tell me how
Sorry
you really
for all that
feel.
are listening. My
Uh,
dog and cat are true dog and cat siblings, and she harasses him. You can see her like butt
a
right
little
here.
butt right
She
there.
harasses my cat. So pardon me for any like scrapping sounds you hear in the background.
It
It's
makes me feel
offensive.
better about my cat scrapping because I'm like, okay, it is normal behavior that they
Dude,
just do
the worst
this.
is like I can never hear yours. Mine are always like right beside me. Like
Oh,
it can never happen like over there.
mm.
It's got to be like at my feet. Like
Mine happened when I'm in the
mom's doing
shower
something. Let's go
or
fight over here.
yeah, or just go sitting down to smoke my joint. I'm like, fuck, no, I just gotta get up and deal with you assholes.
Yeah,
But I
it's
think it's so important too that you
ridiculous.
do say that because I think again that just goes to show what happens when you're not involved and you think everything's good because at the time it felt good. Oh, we're gonna reverse
Oh yeah.
speed. Like I just wasn't voting, so I might as well have voted for him, right? So
I
same
think it
same
was
thing.
our first or second time, like
Mhm.
officially, like in a while, like going to the polls and
Yeah.
doing that too. So it was a big deal too. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I always did federal or sorry, provincially and
Mhm.
municipally, but I for
Provincially,
some
and we do
reason
those, but
federally I just
yeah.
didn't really get on board until like we said till the pandemic and things started.
Mhm.
And to your point too, it's like hey, we've done this a lot of talking and I've said this recently. Even like for example with breast implants, like I've done a lot of talking. What can I
Mhm.
do next? What's the next step? How do we
Mhm.
change legislation? How do we change like
And that's kind of where I was with that. So that's why,
exactly.
yeah,
And it
I
feels nice
followed
still.
a friend's recommendation and went to the AGM. And
Yeah.
yeah,
See
I
it for
tried to get Nick to
yourself.
come with us. Ticket prices were kind of ridiculous, to be
Yeah, that's
completely
fair.
honest, but I ended up getting mine pretty like
Decent
decently
price.
cheap,
Yep.
and from a friend. But I tried to get Nick to come with, and he just couldn't. He worked,
Mm,
and like
totally
I had
fair.
to bring Evie with me, but it was just one of those like you can't. We had heard some, not rumors but rumors, that there's people that wanted her out. They weren't
Oh.
impressed with what she was like putting into
Oh.
like action first, and like they wanted different things like put in place first, which is fair. But it was just one of those like you can't, you sit by and like you said, just hope that everything goes well in the way you want, and then it doesn't, and then you get annoyed.
Yep.
But I just wanted to, yeah, fully feel like I had a right to be annoyed at that point. I went and made my voice and voted and like
Mhm.
took my time and stuff. But I don't know, it just felt like the the more productive thing to do, because I voted, I put my thing out there, and now I can just go back to, yeah, living and
Yeah.
doing as we have been,
Yeah, totally. And I
talk
think it
feminism
feels
and
good
do
to
me, right?
yeah, to use your civic rights, right? Like I think a lot of
Mhm.
people forgot and I'm not saying war was the right answer, but that doesn't mean that people didn't die for the rights and what they thought and also gave us
That's what it's
freedoms to be
for,
able to
right?
do it, right? Like we have civil duties and when the country is crumbling and our provinces are crumbling, like I think it's important to go out and share your voice and not
It's
also
kind
just
of an
hear
unfortunate realization in the whole thing, is how
totally.
it is important, right?
Totally. And to not just read the headlines, not just watch the podcast, not just
Mhm.
watch the shows. We've done that. Okay, we've done that. That's big steps.
Just to see what's going on, you need to be a part of the what's going on and a part of the decision
Right.
making, right? That's what if we're fighting for democracy, you got to
You
use
got to
it,
use your
right?
voice and you have to like and so like there's letters that could be written like you said going to these type of
Petitions
events,
signed, votes
petition
made,
signs
yeah.
and conversations definitely need to be had. And I think
Mhm.
it's not, and I mean this nicely, Canadians, it's not individuals like me and you that necessarily need to be working on speaking out and having these conversations with people around us. It's the people that are like, I just don't really like to get into politics. Well, I'm sorry, unless you don't pay taxes, you 100% are political because your money goes into politics and to the
You're gonna
government.
have you don't have to be like heavily involved, and you don't
No,
have to like saturate your life with politics, but you
no.
have to be aware, and you have to be
Mhm.
like at the least bit, like the slight bit knowledgeable of what is going on in our country, because right now, yeah, it's just kind of, we're trying to come out of the shambly shambles, but
Yes,
it's
please.
still, we're not doing too hot,
No.
so
And
to
I
say.
think for us, it's just nice to know more of this stuff, right? So it's like, again,
Yeah.
like, and we've been, and everybody I think has that journey, and they can see this on the podcast where we're just like the beginning of the pandemic. And that's again, let's then go to like
It was
where you
intense.
came to be, right? In season 4 for us. So, and
Yeah.
most people know that listen to the show, me and Kayla were of the same opinion as we were when we launched stuff in season 3 and season 4, but we were very afraid to start our podcast about that because it was just like, that's probably not going to be well received and shadow banned immediately, right?
Nowadays, I'd be worried, especially the UK
Totally.
and stuff, with some of the
Yeah.
laws that were put in place
Mhm.
recently. Like, we thought it was bad when we were doing it because of the
True.
convoy stuff and like what was happening. Like, and like B knows, I mean, no offense, this, like, no matter the size of the voice
Mhm.
at this point, I feel like they would have, like, they're getting pickier about it, but like we were still like, there's no way they were like anyone, we were going to be on anyone's radar, or fucking hopefully not, but
Mhm.
it's still something that we, you guys had to think about for sure, and I
100%.
definitely like,
You
you got
think
to be
about it.
careful, right?
Yeah,
You
and
get
you
your
want
voice
your
out there with certain opinions nowadays and you get arrested and go to
or
jail.
you get the wrong side of TikTok and it's just like mentally exhausting. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
put my nervous system through that virality. I really don't.
Yeah.
So, and it's not that I don't want my message or I'm scared of all that. It's just like I don't that's just I don't want to be a part of that. But at the
Hmm.
same time it was like we didn't want to grow the audience that way. We wanted to get to know who we actually like who we are, and we
Yeah.
wanted to have real talk about
Your
what we were
interests.
going through. Yeah, our interests. And then once we built that and also felt comfortable, then it was like, okay, we can start really talking about what's going on in current events because
Yeah.
at the time when we first got together, it was definitely not the time to be talking about current events. Not that way, but we would have, like I said, been shadow banned and blocked because they were, like you said, heavily watching and
Heavy.
tagging stuff with COVID-19. And I have been banned. I've been shadow banned. I've had
Yeah.
channels like pause where I couldn't post on YouTube for 3 months in the middle of a season. It's like all because I said something about the WEF, which we'll get into. So, and just like for a refresher, because you did start in season 4, but I think you found us in season 3,
I found
right?
you guys in season
And
3,
did you guys just
episode I
like
think
search?
54.
Yeah, and did you like search that, or did we just come up, or did someone share
No,
it?
I
I can't remember.
was. How the hell did I find that?
Was it like maybe someone
I
on the
believe
show?
it
Was it
was.
maybe Meg?
No, I'm pretty sure it was on Instagram.
Hmm.
And I was just like in one of my little like rabbit holes and like algorithmic loops. And I saw, it was because it was the like about mandates and stuff,
Yep.
and it was a podcast, and I was kind of like bigger into podcasts, and like Nick was into Joe Rogan, so I was trying to find like a podcast, and I listened to your guys' episode, and it was just like, it just, it was like, yes. And I remember, I think it was like shortly after I messaged you, and I was like, bitch, like, yes.
Bitch. It
And
was
I
so
just
great.
loved it. I was hooked.
I love it so much. And then yeah, so you were
Yeah.
watching for the season and we started building friendships and then we, for a short time had Patreon until Patreon also got very political in how they were going to be kind of
Hmm.
mandating speech in a way. So I was just like it's extra work. I'm not making like I wasn't trying to make money. I was just trying to supplement the money that podcasting does, take.
Yeah.
And that's how you and Danielle got in there and it was just like I
Yeah.
knew at that time too Kayla was like starting to get back into work and then balancing her son and I knew she was going to have to be able to dial back a
Pull
bit.
back.
Exactly. And I was like, well, you know what? Like these girls are very aligned to us because you guys, again, were our two only patrons and you've always posted and shared our stuff. And I was like, this is amazing. And it's like
I
just
love
made
that.
sense. And then, yeah, so
Yeah.
your first episode was episode 82. It wasn't our
That's
first
crazy.
episode in season 4. I think it was our second episode in season
I
4.
think you and Kayla did the season opener, and I
Yeah.
was the second one.
Yeah.
And
And
it
we
was
talked
about
about let's
the
kids be kids.
kids and drag queens and
Yeah.
yeah,
And that was a moment for you and for us because it was the first time we thought we were speaking, not speaking out against that, but just like having our opinions. And at that time, LGBTQ conversations were
yeah,
not at the height that they're kind of at now, but they were starting to. Like,
yeah.
I
I
feel like
think
it
it was
started
more
with
like
kids to drag, and
hot
now,
topic
yeah, and now we're
back.
at kids transitioning. Like, that's kind of like I
Yeah,
think the pipeline to these
yeah,
conversations at that time. It was like we were outraged that children were watching sexual stuff or like drag can exist kids can still understand LGBT, but
Yeah.
why the
They
sexual
don't
component?
they don't need to be together. Like they
Yeah.
can exist separately for sure.
Yeah, and that was hard for you too because I know you were a fan also. Like I'm not no
Dude,
shade. It's just not a fan
I've
of drag.
watched some recent stuff
Yeah.
even. I just see it very differently and I can kind of
Mm.
see where the agendas come to play and kind of the hypocrisy behind a lot of it. But I really do like the artistry of drag. I'm
Well,
sorry, I
that's
do like
no,
the
you don't
makeup
have to say
artistry is
sorry.
crazy and like the costumes and the elaborate like outfits and like just the story behind some of the like get-ups are just I personally yeah like but I'm an adult and I can separate stuff like
Yeah.
it may be weird for some people to like think that I like yeah I do enjoy it but
That's fine.
I'm also not going to bring Evie to a drag
Yeah,
club or bar with me ever.
exactly.
um I will fight to the death for her to have a normal childhood to the point of like I was a huge tomboy and I've mentioned
Mm.
that before and like heaven forbid that she's anything like me and just eventually yeah has a mushroom bowl cut and like wears baggy jeans and like does not conform to a typical girl. I don't want her to be told that there's something wrong with her and she needs to cut off her tits
Yes.
and like get a fake penis put on her body or anything of the sort. Like I just want kids to be kids.
Yeah.
And so like everything about that episode, what I watched it actually not too long ago because it was
Oh,
crazy to think that like
that
it
how
was
long
that
ago
long
that was.
ago.
I know.
But yeah, most of my opinions still stand, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. Like
Yeah.
I can respect anyone that does it. I have no problem with you.
Yeah.
But like, am I gonna bring my child around you while you're like
Flopping your
in
dick around? Not
ladies'
really.
lingerie on a stage
Yeah.
performing scantily clad? No,
It's just not
definitely not.
necessarily. It's not
Definitely
necessary. And
not.
and that's I think people got very confused and I think we're understanding more now that two truths can exist at the same time. You can enjoy drag and do that as an adult and they can obviously exist. No one says nobody can exist. And you can also teach your child love and inclusion at the right times in the appropriate
That's the
manner
thing
and
though.
not
Like
in your face
there's a
like that.
very big difference between love and inclusion and teaching your kids that you can love who you love and that is what it is and there's no shame in it and like you don't ever have to be like shy about that, but there's a very big difference between what you're teaching your child at age appropriate times and drag. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like it's an art form in the gay community and that's fair, but like I don't understand what everyone's obsession was with about bringing it to children
Yeah.
and why children need to be involved in drag. It's an adult's
Entertainment.
hobby and it's an
Yep.
adult profession and it's an adult activity in my opinion. Like there you don't need to introduce drag to children.
No.
They will find it come like 16, 17,
Yeah,
18 when we all
exactly.
start doing that and then they
Yes.
can be introduced that way. They don't need to be introduced at 5, 6 and 7.
No.
I just find that really manipulative and it's the years where they just don't need to give a shit about that stuff and they just need
Exactly.
to enjoy being outside and playing with friends and
Yes.
biking and like create it. If they like makeup that's totally cool and like if they like
Absolutely.
fashion that's totally fine too, but you don't need to like like steer it or like mold it into like anything to do with drag.
You
Like
don't. No.
I don't
No.
that you will not change my mind. That will never like
And why can't you just dress up? Like, if you want to do kid stuff, like, couldn't you just do that, like, through
that's what I mean.
another
Like that's
avenue? Like,
Halloween dressing up.
why does it have to be with those types of costumes and that connotation? Like, can you keep it separate? And I totally love that everyone loves that.
Mm,
It's just not something that I have found. That's not an entertainment that I enjoy. I also don't really
that's fair.
enjoy seeing women do that either. It's nothing rude. It's just not like if I'm going to spend money, I
Drag
want to
kings
go.
are weird.
Well,
I'm not gonna
and I just mean like
I
live
don't like
shows like that unless it's got like a singing component to it or like is like a
it's just not
Broadway. It's
your
just
type
not
of
my style.
artistry, right?
Exactly. I
It's
like music. I like
an
going to
artist's
concerts.
subjective, so everyone's gonna like
Exactly.
it different, and that's the thing. Like,
Totally. Doesn't mean I hate these people and I don't think that they
no,
should exist. That like and people get that in your mind. Oh, well you must. No, I don't. I
you're
like
homophobic, you're
yes.
transphobic. It's
No.
like, but I'm not.
Do
I
what you
just
want. I'm
don't
just
understand what they have an obsession about being like
these are
partially nude
kids.
and like dancing
Yes.
suggestively around children.
Yes.
Like,
I
why
wouldn't
am
want
I
kids
the
as
one that's
strippers
the bad
either.
guy? I never understood that. That was the part that bugged me, especially through the pandemic, through the
Mm,
whole like trans and like kids thing is like everyone that's fighting on behalf of children, like gays against groomers and all of them, how we are then told that we're crazy
mhm.
and like what we're doing is hard. Like, I just,
When there's
I
so
don't know.
much
Maybe
inclusion
I
now,
just
how
do
can you
not
say that?
understand and see it from that side. Like, how are we the crazy ones? Because we're
Yeah.
trying to help children be children.
Yes. And just and too like so
And
any
yeah, there are going to be gay
experience.
children.
Yeah, of
Totally fair and
course.
totally like valid and accurate.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be. But that's their own, like, it's an individual. You can't just thrust upon like all kids. I think
No.
that's the part that bugged me. It's just all kids are falling under this. Like,
Yeah.
all kids that go to school do that. Like, no.
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 I just think it should be naturally
Yeah.
progressing,
And
and
it should be
kids.
parents. It's the parents'
Exactly.
decision. I know that not all houses are created equal. Fair
Hmm.
enough. Not all parents are created equal, but that's not a again, it's situational, but that's not a like stranger or someone who is not familiar with that child's
Yeah.
like decision or responsibility to
Yeah. And just
educate
like
them on
there's
that
other
shit. Like
things
the
to be.
Jeffrey guy on TikTok,
Oh,
that's a no thank you for me. A hard no thank you, and always has been.
well, it's just there's just some red flags, right? Like I
Yeah,
understand, and there's
yeah.
nothing red flag to me about wanting to help children. It's just the
No,
delivery and how you're doing it, and like no contact with parents and trying to get in the middle. And I understand that
doing
that's
things secret.
yeah, and there's a lens that you're talking through because your
Yeah,
experience might be, and I'm not speaking specifically of him, I'm just saying the whole community. Like, I understand where people are like, I was not accepted, and so therefore I want to have
yeah,
acceptance. Like, I
for
understand
sure.
all those things. Absolutely. I just think that we could probably keep the sexual part about it and just like let kids like things again without maybe
Yeah,
labeling it on either side because you do see that on the opposite ends where straight or gay or whichever they do push their kids as well and
yeah.
not needing to. Oh, whoops, my
Well, and
curtain fell down, scared the
the
shit out of me.
second anything becomes don't tell your parents, it's an
That's
immediate no thank you for
exactly,
me.
exactly, and there's both sides, right? There's side
Unless
where
it's a surprise party of sorts. But
yeah,
other than that,
yeah, exactly. But
but
and like there's like both sides where it's like, there is the side of let's say the conservative where they're saying, all gays are trying to groom kids. No, that's not true. Like I think there's
no.
extremes on both sides, and I think we can all agree that there's some silliness on either side, and we could probably be more compassionate and understanding. But at the same
Yeah,
time, it's like then you also need to meet each other where each other's at and dial things down a bit, like
yes.
if we could just have, like we said, instead of like, why do you have to dress in drag? Can you just drag in costumes and maybe do
Yeah,
story time in like a costume about the book? Maybe and do it that way if you want to be an entertainer for children. Like, why can't you do it
yeah.
that way? Why does it have to be a drag? And I
Even if
think
it is like a female
questions.
character of the book, but
Yeah.
don't make it like weird in any way.
And
Just
exactly.
costume,
Totally.
not
Not the
like
costume that you
realistic,
do in
not
your show,
a
right?
lot
Like,
of I think the
separate it.
drag where it goes is like there's the campy stuff that is obviously fake, but then
Mm,
there's the ones that are like quite literally more beautiful than I am. Like I just don't
100%.
understand how you can look like
Yeah,
this
go fuck all
and you're a
yourselves.
man. Like
Yes.
what?
And it's
It makes
jealousy
me
and
have a complex and I'm a natural born woman. Like you know what I mean? Like some of
100%.
them are just like wow,
I
but
hate you
I think
all.
that's the thing though, because then it melds into the like, okay, but you're not, and that's where the whole drag like issue comes in. But like, if it's like, yeah, drag where it's like very clearly a man and funny costumes or like a funny theme to it,
Yeah.
like non-sexual, that shit honestly doesn't bother me. But
No. Just
I'm
take the
still not going to bring her around it. It's just kind of
exactly.
not appropriate.
Exactly. And I just think like as someone who's been exposed to sexual content as we did as like teenagers with Playboy and all that at a young age, I think we're fair to say like, hey, we know that regular pornography and children being
Yeah,
exposed to any sort of sexual content is not good. So I just think this is another avenue and has nothing to do with who you're swinging that thing around or in front of in your privacy of your own home. That's your own shit. I just don't want to see
yeah,
anything swanging no matter what because it just shouldn't be. It should at that point just be science anatomy. That's just your peen and it's to
yeah.
pee and that's about it, or your feet, you know what I'm saying? Like that's where my head hopefully goes because I just want it, like you said, preserve the innocence of children as long as possible. Because I don't feel like we had that ability because we were at the
Not at
beginning
all. I
of
was gonna say that was another one of my favorite episodes we did was the body
yes.
one where we talked about that because that
Yeah.
I feel like that isn't like highlighted enough how like our generation was very like hypersexualized and even like
Yes.
into the like Gen Zs like
Hmm.
even now still but like it's more of like the movement of like the Me Too and all that garbage and like the P Diddy stuff and like how like sexualized kids it's kind of more in the forefront now so it's more like people are starting to see it but it was just truly like in our faces when we
Yes.
grew up like
Yes.
hard
Yes.
so like it was yeah we were like our grandparents and parents definitely like parents started seeing it towards the end when they were older but we got it through our childhood which is
Yeah.
our formables as they say
Yeah,
so
and like
yeah
Disney
it
and
was
stuff
really
too.
intense
And that's one that said though, to your point. So we did, so we'll just go through this because I mean we don't really we know how
yeah
we feel about COVID. But our next episode with you was, and I'm sure was a little bit like nerve wracking for you because it was the first time you're talking about COVID and the stats with us on episode 86 back then, which
yeah
would be fun to go back. And we also wore costumes. That's where Kayla
yeah
had the crazy mask on. I
for
think you had the cat,
Halloween
yeah,
I
and then
love
I had
that
the witch hat or whatever. So that was fun. I'm glad I try to keep doing
Evie
that.
come here you
And
can hear her in the
then
room
the next one was me, you, and Danielle. And I think that was Danielle's first episode. Actually, it was episode 90. And we first
yeah
started talking about Epstein, like us as a team. Me and Kayla had touched on Epstein, but we talked about Pedo Island because at that point, that's when that was really huge too, was the Epstein and his island and shit like that. And I
but
think we
we
all
I
loved
almost
talking about that shit.
thinking about it too is almost like I felt like we were like
Ahead of the
low-key
game.
reporters because we were
Yeah.
like following it, and it just
Mhm.
like kind of felt fun. I see where they like enjoy that, where you get to keep current on
Yes.
stuff. But
Yes.
that was because it was popular, and that's because it was like
In your
people
face.
need to know this. Like,
Yep.
this is something that needs to be out there. This needs to be exposed. This needs to be like cleaned up, swept up, fucking dealt with. Like, this
Yes.
is
It's
heinous.
gross
And
shit.
it's coming out triple fold now because
Ugh.
that all wraps back around to Diddy, which is exploding even more. But like, that stuff needs to come out. That we need to detoxify and get that shit out of our like system. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes. My
Nick, bring it here.
girlfriend
So
said the
that
other
was
day that she
crazy.
loves being a part of the generation that's watching Hollywood crumble. And I was like, good
Dude,
point, man.
me too.
100%.
Loves
Like,
it. Loves
100%.
it.
And we've had, and you said, like, that's a big chunk of a lot of our episodes. And I think our first one, which was one of my favorites, is That's One Secret I'll Never Tell. And it was just me and you. And we are talking about like Club 47 and satanic
Yeah.
rituals within Hollywood. And it was like our first kind of like Hollywood episode, I'd say that, hi, that,
Hmm.
that we really talked about. And I think that was just me and you. And then all four of us jumped on to episode 96, and it was Who Asked You WEF. And that was the first time that I got in trouble from YouTube. That was the first
Which is
episode where I
crazy to
got a
think
slap.
about because at the time we did that was when they were like under the biggest scrutiny, and they were
Yeah.
going after everyone and anyone that like said anything.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy. Like I said, that we were tiny, we weren't
Yes.
huge,
Mm-mm.
and it still made its reaches
Yep.
to us
Yep.
to punish us and ban you for 3 months from YouTube.
Yep, that was the episode, got me banned for 3 months. And so
Isn't
that
that
was fun.
insane?
And we didn't even say anything. We're just like, what is WEF? What's the World Economic Forum? Like, and I had played us some clips that were like very questionable clips that we had looked at, but they were all real stuff pulled from their YouTube channel. But then
I
I'm
think
getting
that's
in
the worst
trouble for
part is
it.
how like it looks so like fake propagandic like
Mhm.
ridiculousness, but that was like literally all on the website on their like their homepage.
Exactly. And so we're being told we're conspiracy theorists, and we're like, okay, but we've got this directly off their website, directly off their
Yeah.
YouTube channel. And when people are like, oh,
This
you
isn't
just,
us making it up. Like this is literally what the
no.
information they're presenting to you.
And then when people
Come
are
on.
like, oh, it's a YouTube channel, that's where you're getting your
Nick, get her some
information.
candy from her stupid Halloween bag.
And I'm like, okay, but like big places like the Who and CBC, they all have YouTube channels. So what are you talking about? Like, don't use YouTube channel as like
It
discrediting,
was
because big people have YouTube channels too now. Like, it's not like it was 10 years ago when it was just like, let's get some shiz, let's party. Like,
yeah,
there's everybody has stuff now, right?
it was
Like,
pretty crazy. And I think that was about the time too when like they're like the bigger like censoring was coming
mhm.
online and like the bigger shutdowns and like blockings and
Yep.
shadow banning and like you know what I mean?
Tags, COVID,
Yeah.
like to COVID tags, like on Spotify. Spotify and Apple said fuck all. I will give Apple like 110. I
Apple
never
said nothing
Nothing. I never heard. I never got a tag on anything. I never got an email. I never got nothing.
at
Rumble,
all.
nothing. Yep, Rumble, nothing. YouTube, tons. Spotify, they wouldn't. They would tag your episode if you talked about COVID, but they
Okay.
wouldn't let you not post. But every single episode, and I have to go back and check. I don't know that they do it anymore, but every single episode before, it would ask, "Have you read our guidelines?" Specifically at the beginning, it was because of
Oh.
COVID, saying what you couldn't talk about. So it was like
Okay. Okay.
a
Okay.
constant
Okay.
reminder of being like, are you making sure you're not saying the wrong things about COVID before you
Yeah,
upload
like
this?
remember
Because
our rules. Like the
exactly.
very like yeah, totalitarian that we were living of like don't forget the rules.
Yes. And it was just like, I would honestly be sick to my stomach every single time I go to post, because I'm like, what kind of flag is all of our hard work going to go down the drain? Like, I
I
know we
think
were
that
very,
was the hardest part for me was watching you get so like you were it was stressful because
yep,
it was like is our shit gonna get posted? Are we gonna get taken down? Do we have to supplement? Do we have to find a way around this? Like
yep,
because the wording and stuff like it wouldn't let you like our uploading for a while because of the shadow ban. I'm sure of it. Like it wouldn't work. It would
mm-mm,
take us forever. It would kick you out halfway through editing at the same point every time. Sometimes I'd tell Brandy like, dude, it's not letting me post. Like, can you
yep,
try posting? We'd have to like find workarounds to post. Like sometimes it got pretty fucking dodgy and frustrating
mm-hmm.
with the with social media, especially because I did Instagram for a while and it
You
was
did,
just like some of them were like it was like no, and you'd have it in draft and you try and post and it would say it did but then it wouldn't, or there'd be like it was
It
was
was so
a thing.
stressful. It was. And then you're just like to the point. It's like, why do I keep going? Why am I doing this? Like all this
Yeah,
stress I'm just putting on myself for at what? What's the purpose? But then someone would message me and be like, "Thank you for bringing this up," or like you would hear from somebody, or like you
dude,
know what I mean? Like, and it was just like, that's why I'm doing this. Okay.
I'm gonna put it out there. I got recognized recently,
Yeah.
and I haven't been on the podcast in how long? Like that
It
was the
was so
craziest thing. Shout out Adriana. It was just yeah, like it was honestly like I was already having like the greatest weekend, and for that to like she's like I know you from somewhere, and in my head I'm like I'm like 99.9% positive I've never met this woman, and she goes you did a podcast right, and I was like shut the fuck up.
I
Like,
did.
you did not just say that to me. Like, yes, I freaking did. Like,
I
it
work
was just, I
hard.
almost forgot I did at one point. And I was just like,
Yeah. What?
what did you just ask me? Like, it was, I honestly, I was like, I feel
Surreal.
famous. Like, this is the
I
coolest shit
know.
I've ever experienced in my life. Like, I feel like a
You
rock
made my
star. Like,
weekend.
how cool was that? And I immediately text Brandy. I'm like, you will never guess what just happened.
And I guessed who it was too, because I had seen that
Yeah.
you guys were friends with the same people around the same area. So I was like, I think they're
I
both going to the
wonder,
same event, but I was also traveling to Ontario. So I was like, how hyper focused on what's going
dude, it
on
was
in front of me. And so that made me
crazy.
so stoked when he texted me that I screamed at Grant. We were shopping. I was like, Haley got recognized on the podcast. And it's those moments because I know how much work we've all put in. And so I know how hard those moments are. So it's like
And
time like that I just want you guys to like always look back at the podcast as like such a cool part and
well, because
chapter
like I
of your
said, it's
life.
very nerve-wracking putting your opinions out there. Some
100%.
of the things I did, like talking to Joe and like my whole
Mhm.
pregnancy thing I talked about, and just
Totally.
like parenting stuff, because parenting is pretty controversial. Honestly, I'm surprised you
Oh
haven't gotten
God.
more flack and
Hate.
backlash on that, because parenting is so subjective
It
and
is
so like it's situational. It's
opinionated.
insane. So
Yes.
like putting your opinions out there is hard. So like having someone recognize me was the coolest thing in the world. But just I will never look back at the podcast as anything but like the coolest experience. It is I don't know, it's almost the equivalent in my mind of having like a cable show back in the sorry, he's
Yeah.
playing with the mole for anyone who thinks my child's a creep. She's playing with her comfort mole, security mole. But yeah, it's like having like a cable show back in the day that reaches like 28 people in your small town. Like it just
Yes.
felt very Lily Moskowitz and Princess Diaries to me. I
Yes.
just wanted to like there was something so but we reached so much farther than that. Like it was so like seeing some of the stats
Hmm.
that you used to bring like fucking mind blown. Like
And
the
all the
coolest shit.
places,
And
all
the
the places, the
countries.
countries.
Like
Yep.
there's
Yep.
no way people from those countries are listening to our voice right now. Like
I
there's
know.
not a chance.
Grant was like, "What if it's a VPN?" I was like, "I don't care." I was like, "I don't care," because like some of these places, I just don't know that that would be a VPN. Like maybe, and some of them probably are,
I don't
but I don't
care.
care. I'm saying it is, and yeah,
It's
and
so cool.
it
Like we
is,
had like
yeah.
countries, like 20 some countries of like minus under 1%. So there's like
Yep. And now
a
some of those
couple, maybe a
countries are
couple
over.
dozen,
It's
maybe just
actually maybe I'll
one
pull.
person. You know what
Let
I
me
mean?
pull
Like
that
that
up.
was just the
Actually,
coolest.
I can actually pull that up right now. We can look at
Do
it. But
it. What
and
are we
I
at?
do I do
What are
love
you
that.
sitting at there, B? What have you raked in since I
Yeah.
stopped? I want to know.
So I'm very close by the time, no, I don't think so. By the time we launch this, I'll hit 17,000. And also
Ooh.
like what sucks is that I don't have a place that does Rumble, YouTube, and then like the Anchor with Spotify and Apple. Really, I just have Spotify and Apple, and then YouTube's its own thing and Rumble's its own thing. And it's just really
Yeah.
crazy. I really do this winter when I have more time, when I actually like put Excel, of course, together and upload, because I'll have to do it manually to like see what every episode is actually at, because I don't have a stat between all of them. So for example, like the episode that me and you did about, I think it was cults, I texted you the other day, it was like 80 on Rumble, like
Yeah.
within a couple days, but then some of them it's like 4 or 5 after they launch. So it's like, but then you go to another platform and then that one will take off, but then other
Yeah.
platform, it's really like depends on what platform you're
There's
on,
not
which is
one
cool.
program that you can use to upload to all of them.
No, not to my
I
knowledge. If
think you
someone
need to
knows, please
corner
tell
that
me.
market and create a platform because honestly,
Oh,
money.
the
Because
problem
truly, like,
is,
I think the half the thing that people didn't understand is yeah, recording was fun and like
mhm,
talking and chilling and
yeah,
like whatever and doing the research is fun, but the uploading, the making sure like everything is ready to go on time and like all the background stuff took a bit.
yeah,
It was a toll.
content creating is
Because like
absolutely the
using
worst.
like all the different like programs and like having to
Oh,
create all the like posts and all the write-ups, like you were to this day I have said it Said it once, I'll say it again. You're a powerhouse, dude.
I'm just like super addicted, I think, to this point where it's just like I
Dude,
made a
this is the
commitment.
200th.
Mhm.
200th. You
Not
like,
missed one.
you
Not
need to
missed one.
take a second and like, yeah, think about that, dude. 200. That's insane.
I bought a sign for the 200
Right? Like,
memory. I
that's
should get a tattoo.
pretty,
Um, yeah. And
right?
that's why I'm like, where do I stop? And like at this point, I don't see like season 10 seems too soon, right? Like I'm almost done season 8. So like season 10 seems too soon. So maybe like 15 or when I hit a certain amount of plays or a certain amount of
Yeah.
episodes. But at the same time, it's just like to your point, like it's like reporting, it's like sharing stuff. Like I love the connections and the people I meet and like the relationships grow and having repeat like yourself and like Holly and Kayla and everyone being able to digitally like
It's the connections you build through it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and like we all get to like timestamp our lives and the impact and the people that I meet like and the episode 199 with Bella like about her breast implant illness and she's like at the
Mm.
especially at the time I was one of the only peoples that would listen to her people that would listen to her and she was like that means so much to me because I was really going through it and I didn't
That's a
even know
big thing
that.
that I don't think you really realize or like get enough credit for is like the voice that you give to a lot of people that don't have one.
Thank you. I try at least, right? And I always try to
Honestly,
encourage
the
people to
voice
come
that you
on.
give, especially for the breast implant women, because we were pushed, like we have said so many times, our generation, it was plastic city.
Yes.
Okay, you're going
Oh
to
my
bear with
gosh.
me. I have to turn the TV on for Miss Pouty
Oh, that
Pants
is
here, but
totally fine.
it was just plastic city, and we were
Yeah.
just told like your value is in huge balloon boobies that
Yeah.
were. And look, like the aftermath of these women are suffering.
Yep.
They've got really, really shit. The one thing that I regret from the show is not like being more involved with that side of the
That's fair.
podcast. I'll
Yeah,
tell you that.
the advocacy part, which is like always
Well,
has
that
some
and just like being a part of the episodes and getting to hear
mm,
these women's like stories, like
firsthand.
myself, instead of like listening. Like obviously, I listened to them like when you did them, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah, being a part of it.
that was, I think, giving the voice and like some of the other stuff that never aired because it couldn't. That you were trying to give a voice for and
Yeah,
to like
yeah,
I think that's my favorite part about the podcast and why I liked it is because it gave a voice to the people that didn't always feel like they had one. And I think that's maybe why I liked it because God, I'm not like emotional. I just have like a weird like air bubble.
I am. That's crazy.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yes,
it's just the voice, like, I don't know, like who the fuck cares about what I have to say or my opinion, you know?
I do.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's fun getting to put it out there and finding out that some people actually, hey, I agree with you. I have a lady, if you're listening, Joanne, she's on Instagram. We talk constantly about like the Northern Lights. She comments on my daughter. We talk about mandates.
I
She
love
first reached
that.
out and commented because of the podcast and
Mm.
like what we were doing. She loved the work we were doing and like thought we should make t-shirts and like sent like
It's coming,
little, and it
2025.
was so cute. And like
Yeah.
I have this cute friendship. I'm
Yes.
not positive, but I'm pretty sure she's from, I want to say it's Pennsylvania, which is probably
Oh.
super wrong. I'm so sorry, Joanne. That is such a shitty friend thing of me, but like it's just the cutest thing. And
There's a
for all
lot
I
of
know,
states.
she's like in her 50s or 60s. She could
Yeah.
be my age. Like I don't know. I think she's probably like maybe my mom's age. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I
You
just
never know.
find some of the like connections, like you said, especially you with the podcast page, some of the connections made are
Yeah.
just,
Incredible.
it's community.
Hmm.
Like how much better can you get than, you know, like having all these like cool people to like share your opinions with or like share information with. It's like a treasure trove. It's wealth. I
Yeah,
love
and that
it.
cheer you on and that want to be involved in like what
Yes.
you're doing and love what you're doing and like feed you just as much as you feed them, right? Like my
Yes.
favorite
It's
thing on the
cup filling
podcast is 100%
everywhere.
exactly is exactly what you said is like getting on the show and hearing about their stories and then not only that, it's like my own school. Like I get to learn so much
Yes.
without having to sit in a boring classroom,
That
right?
was one of my favorite parts. I
Yeah,
think
and
some
like
of our
us
like
researching like
we had that heavy research
oh my god,
Jesus, sorry,
season
heavy
season
research
6.
season that like we all like dreaded and honestly like talk
She's a
so
5.
much shit behind that season's back. She was
Yeah.
a C
She
word,
was a bitch,
but
but
it was kind of the coolest because we learned so much about like the cults and about like all like the like
operations
government
and
programs we went through and like all that stuff. So like actually learning and like getting to like, I don't know. I thought that
have
was fun.
something else. And it's like people
Mhm.
read books about fiction and who knows if it's true or not. So it's like our way of doing that. Like people don't understand. And it's like, okay, but what's the difference of you sitting down and watching a TV program? I'm watching a YouTube video so that I can go talk to my friends about it
Yeah,
on Sunday and see what they think
it was
about it.
pretty cool and I
Right?
loved it.
Like, and like how many cool things can we bring each other? It's like
Especially some
show
of the
and tell.
topics.
Yeah, like
Like
show and
I think
tell.
that, and that was the style we did it. It really was like we
Yeah.
picked and we didn't share information in between. It was kind of like, dude, you're never gonna guess what I found. Like, and sometimes it would be hard because we'd have literally the same conversation when we first log in about what we found, and then have to repeat that to each other again on
The show.
camera and
Yeah.
on film.
Yeah.
And I did want to say, now that I mention it, I think I started the first episode you guys did without me, because I was a second, was the first of video too.
Yes.
That was hard and
Yes.
very, like, even now,
Very
like,
different.
I don't mind it, but sometimes when I watch back, I literally have to like cover my face, and like I'm like
I just
covering it, and
listen.
like I can listen to my voice, but like seeing some of the facial expressions I make and just the way I don't enjoy it. So I was
Yeah,
covering
man.
it, and like,
Now
but
55
I
later,
just,
you got this now, right?
right,
So
but
yeah.
it was just, that was a lot too.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. And I
but
just
yeah,
also want people to, and that's a good point, of people to understand. And oh, we've always been like, we don't know what we're doing, but we're going to show you, and we're going to be real. On Like some days we would get cute. Like if we felt like getting
unedited.
cute, we would get cute. And if not, we'd show up like a troll. We showed up like
Yeah.
trolls. It's like, this is who we honestly are every day. It could be some days where I look $1 million.
Potato or not,
Yeah.
it
Or I could
was.
look like like a trashy potato. Like,
I look good from here up, and
yeah. Oh, I
from the
got
bottoms
pajamas
down. I'm
on
either
right now.
sweatpants,
Yeah.
underwear.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
I
it was what it was.
also playing with my hair a lot too, which I want to get to in
I
some
do
of the
too, and
episodes.
it's one of my things, and I notice it most
Yes.
in podcast episodes. So it's just very cringe, and I
Yeah,
just, yeah,
I don't care
did
though,
not
because
enjoy
like I'm gonna say one thing that we've been through is like the crunchy stages too, which was an episode we talked about, and I've actually changed some opinions on some of that. And now, y'all, I am at like 2 months of pure Pantene Pro V, and I'm not kidding you. My hair is like stunning. Like it feels good. It's actually coming back to life. It's like
It's been fun to morph some of our, like, because I'm kind of too, I'm in between. Like, I was making my own, I do still make a lot of my own stuff, but some of
totally.
the stuff is just too hard, and
It's
it's
not
not
worth
even
it.
worth it. It's
Yeah.
not worth the effort.
No.
So I'm kind of in between. Like, I have the shampoo bars that I like that are working right now, and then you want the candy that you bite. Yes, I know you do, honey.
Me too.
She's obsessed with Starburst right now.
Oh,
But
delicious.
but yeah, so like the hair stuff is hardest because like it just is. Like, greasy hair is not a fun thing, especially
Nope.
when it's this long and stuff. I have
Yeah.
to be extra, like, it's just different. So that stuff I don't make, but I just recently found a recipe for like a scent booster, or like
Okay.
like
Yep.
fabric softener type thing,
Yep.
that is bomb. So like
Oh,
I'll make
amazing.
that for myself instead of using the beads that I used to be
Yes.
addicted to.
Yep.
So like things like that I'll do myself, but it's been a journey because, yeah,
Yeah.
like,
And just going back to the stats here a second, we'll go to those.
oh yeah, of course.
So as the current time, so I've had just, and then this is just Spotify and Apple. So right now I've had 16,747 plays since the beginning of the obviously of the podcast. And at the current
That's
moment, I
crazy.
have 207 followers. So you can follow actually on the show, and it'll give you notifications of when things are posted. And the audience is always the part that you're saying that is also obviously
Yeah,
really fun. So when we started, it was like 100% Canada, like 1% US. And then it
yeah,
started like battling. And then all of a sudden, all these other little countries started popping up.
it's
And
crazy.
now at the current date, it's only 76% Canada, 19% United States, and 1% China. So, hello, my Chinese friends. Thank you for listening. That's amazing. And then everything else is like under the 1%. But yeah, we got anywhere from like Australia, Montenegro, Germany. And if you keep going all the way down, like there's Greece is one of my last ones, Poland, Egypt, Ukraine, Austria, Japan, Portugal, Grenada, Ghana,
Like, that's
Peru,
so cool.
Iceland, Argentina, Puerto Rico, Finland, Sweden, Angola, Bolivia, Philippines, Colombia,
Like,
Colombia. I think of that chick that does that like reel,
oh
and
my
she
god,
like does
I love
the
her. I love her.
France.
Gross.
But yeah, it's like Spain, Brazil,
That's
Switzerland,
what I mean. Like, how
Mexico.
cool.
Very cool. Yeah, and it's cool that they provide this so I can kind of see like where are people listening.
Your
So
engagement.
exactly. So for the most part, it's actually Apple Podcasts at 58% and Spotify is 36. So it is Apple heavy, which is
What are we
interesting.
at for genders now? We
um,
used to have a 1% of like the other, and we just figured they hated us for sure.
Yes, so it definitely, and then it was like predominantly female and no male, and then like maybe under 1%
Slowly.
non-binary. So right now we're at 83% female, 14% male, 2.3% non-binary, and 0% non-specified. So gender is evolving on the
Dude, I
podcast
love
too.
that though, because
It's
honestly,
so
I
cool.
do like, popular to what other people think. I love the gays. Gays are
Mhm.
great. I have nothing against you. Yes, queen.
I truly don't
I'm
care
not
what.
being like
No,
patronizing either. Like I love
no.
you all, but
Yes.
it was just crazy because I assumed that we would not fall on their radar at all. Or it's
No.
like they're watching just to like,
Hate
oh my god, you
watch.
see what these people said about us?
Yeah.
Like, you
Stitch
know what I
me for
mean? But
TikTok.
you know that there's
100%.
gays out there that
Feel the
1000% agree with
same.
everything we're saying about the trans stuff and about the kids and about everything.
100%. And then just quick more
Crazy.
statistics. The top 10. So the top episode that I've ever had, just again on Spotify and Apple, which I think there's an episode out there that are over four or 500 on Rumble that me and you did. Actually, I'll go back in a bit here and see. But
I'm sorry, over 400 and 500
yeah,
views.
let me see. I'll let this load
Have you
while
been
I'm.
making cash off of those
No,
ones?
and if someone knows
Oh,
how to do to tell me to do that, that's would be great. The thing that people always say are like, "How are you doing these things?" I'm not saying you, but it's like I don't even fucking like. I would love it if someone could come on and teach me how to do
I
these
love
things
that.
because I have no idea.
I have no clue.
I really
I
don't.
hate
But I
that it's
think
getting so dark. I'm gonna have to go turn a light on here. Like, what the
I know. That's why I had my curtain and then it fell, and I'm like, oh, I guess it really doesn't matter that my curtain fell because it's so dark.
brutal.
But yeah,
Brutal.
so the top
Yes,
episode
candy, honey.
um the top episode is episode 49 with Botox illness at 276,
Okay.
which superseded our episode 54, which is the 8-hour episode that you found us in. That's
Yeah.
at 260. Mia's
Yeah.
story, episode 85, which her like fitness and health story, is at 247.
Nice.
Explant therapy, episode 74, is at 198. The Big, the Bad, the Pharma, which is another topic I really want to jump into. I think more in season 9 is pharmaceuticals and stuff,
Yeah.
is at 197. And then it just kind of goes down. But I would say like I majority of the episodes at this point, I'd say over 50% have over 100 or more.
Dude, you could
There's not
probably do
many.
like an entire series on pharmaceuticals.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Like,
Um,
for real.
yeah, and it really just depends on again what platform, but I'm pretty sure it was season on Rumble. It was season. I'll have to go. I'm pretty sure it's all the way back. And again, I have to keep in mind that some of these have been aired a lot, obviously longer. Holy fuck. Okay. Episode 99. That's another secret I'll never tell. With part 2 of Hollywood is
Yeah.
at 683 views.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, it just really won at 283. There was a MLM one and a pro MLM one actually. It's just all over the place. Like some of them are at like 9, but then some of them are at like 300. It's
Nine.
like, yeah, and so it's like I really need to go back and like really evaluate like what are people liking, but then again, I feel like my audience also changes from time to time. So it
It
is kind of
really
hard
does.
to dictate.
It
Oh,
really.
Operations Hollywood 419. That was in the season that we are talking about, the heavy season
I find.
of
I feel
heavy.
like what I remember is the cult ones did really well and the Hollywood ones did really well. Go ask
Always.
Daddy, Amy.
Always. So to wrap up for that season 4, you were in 10
Ask
episodes,
Daddy.
and that was
Daddy
your
will get you
first.
one.
That was our first 0 Point Video episode,
Okay.
and then we had our 100th episode celebration with all 4 of us girlies, and it was always so fun when we had all 4 of us together because it's so hard with
Yeah.
our schedules to get us all together.
Yeah.
But it was
It
nice
was
that you guys could
honestly.
tag in.
It was a push to get everyone together.
I
I
think that
love
was the
that.
hardest part.
I
But it
know.
was so fun when we were all together too, right? Like that's why we always strive for it. So we knew if one
I
person
love
didn't
that.
show up, it was because they're like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
like shitting myself or like crying
Struggling.
fit or like
Yeah.
whatever.
Struggle bus.
Yeah. Or what was it? Your kid was sick that one night and you were sleeping in the
Oh,
bathroom or something. And I was like,
yeah. I've been
okay,
shit
I'm gonna
on
log
and
off,
like.
Haley. You're not coming.
Oh,
And you're like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's okay. But yeah, season 5. If people want to like binge watch our research seasons, Haley was a part of 27 episodes of season 5.
20. Really?
Yeah.
How many
So
were
that
there?
I don't even. I would say I think
Total?
I want to say closer to like 50 probably because each season I get like 20 to
Dude, that's
25 to 30.
crazy.
But this one we had decided to do double because we had a full team. So I was
Yeah.
like, there's 4 of us girlies. We can all split the work, and then realize it's
That was when
still
me
a
and
lot of
Danielle,
work.
yeah, started.
Yes.
Dude, that's insane.
So in
Oh,
season 5, if people want to go back, yeah, we started off with cults. So we talked about Scientology, Nexium, Child of God, and then we kind of did like a
I think
cult
you're
mania where we
screaming.
talked about all of them. And then you had your first episode 109 of Being Real with you, where we did talk about like your pregnancy
Yeah,
and
going through the pandemic, pregnant,
yeah, and
and
what that
birth.
was like for
Yeah.
you. Yeah, that was our first episode of like we're like, okay, we've talked a lot of shit, but like who the fuck is this Haley chick? We just
Hi.
kind of like brought you into all the controversial stuff, and it
I
was
love
like
that.
me and Kayla had two full seasons to like get people to know us, and
To
here we just
yeah,
popped
as
into it.
introduction.
Yeah.
And that was like fun, but like it was so hard to like pack everything into like what I
Totally.
wanted to say or like what
How
I
you
don't
really
know,
feel
like
at the time
especially for like
too.
the birth part behind it. Sorry, here you go. Look,
and
I know she's looking at me because I
and
emptied.
then the
I'll get
next
you another
one
one. You can do it later.
was the operations one, which I think was my favorite. I think that was one of my favorite months, is when we dove into the mind control and all the weather
Those were some of my favorites
modifications.
because of the research and because of like what I learned behind them. Like those ones were
Yes.
really interesting to me.
And what we are learning now, and like seeing things now, and like had we not known about
It
like the
applies
Vietnam
now,
War.
heavy.
Exactly. And like if we
Like
had known about those stuff, I don't
chemtrails
know.
and shit and like all of that applies heavy still
Now,
very
yes,
much.
yes. And so it's like, do you also like think like I was kind of giggle? It's like, well, we talked about this on the podcast like 6 months ago or a year and a half ago, or like we talked about that in season 5. And
Yeah.
it's like not to be that way, but I'm like, well, I already
Dude,
talked about
the
this.
predictive some of the predictive stuff was insane. I can't wrap it back up. You're gonna have to deal with it like this and just give me a second. She's pissed that I opened the candy and wants it back in the wrapper now.
I thought you
Like
wanted to eat it,
I
girly.
cannot win with this child some days. And my dogs, like this was the loudest, most noisiest episode I've done. Okay.
That's fine. That's it's
But
real. It's real.
the predictive stuff, like or
Celebrating.
the stuff that we like talked about before it was like super popular. Like I feel like chemtrails, it's not that it wasn't popular and people knew about it, but like
Got
it
mad
becoming
though.
more prevalent. And then what was the other big one that we talked about? The Ozempic blew up.
The what?
Ozempic blew up afterwards.
Oh yes, yeah, that was another one. Yeah, and we talk, and a lot of people always thank me for the birth control episodes. Me and you also
Yeah.
dove deep into the birth control. Oh, and our episode 123 where we hit 10,000 plays was May 9th, 2023. So yeah, I've almost hit almost 10. Hopefully, I'll hit the 10,000 before that May. So hopefully in 2 years. Yeah, yeah. And then we talked about we kind of did go off about pharmaceuticals more next, because we talked about birth control, then the opioid crisis, and then your point, Ozempic, and all the
Yeah.
over the counter. And now look at it, dude. Like,
Dude, the over the counter stuff is just brutal. Edie, you're gonna sit with me and be quiet. Or you're gonna go out in the living room and do this because I'm not having this. Thank you.
and I think
the
too, both of
the
us
over the
really
counter
wanted
stuff
to
is just
talk about it.
crazy and I feel like some of the side effects we're seeing and some of like the downside of it we've been seeing is painful
Yeah,
to
and
say
like
the least.
Tylenol, and I know that was huge for you at the time too, as a new mom. Like you're
I
learning all
still don't
this, and
give her
yep,
Tylenol.
nope, exactly. And it was just like those are over the counter that we all think is safe. So it was really
Reading
nice for
into those
us.
lawsuits was too much for me and I was just like, yeah, I'm done.
I
Sorry.
know. And it's just the thing is, again, we talk about informed consent. It's the same with this stuff. And it's like, do you know? Or just like, again, we're poorly programmed to be like, it's on the shelf, it's safe. And it's like,
It's
but,
been around for so long, like everyone uses it, like all these
but
excuses, but
yeah. And I just don't fall for that. And then we talked about, again, which everyone loves, is the dirty old bastards, and like talking about, um, oh my God, I can't even remember their names right now. Why can I think? Any of them. Well, we talked about Playboy, but the
Hugh
Kinsley.
Hefner,
Yeah, and Hefner, Kinsley, and all of that, and like the books
yeah,
and the schools and all the like gross sexual
John Money,
John Money, all that kind of stuff. And then we went into trafficking, and then we talked a lot about like sex sells and like the pornography industry, and like we've
that
touched
was
on
where
that
we
a
got
few
into like
times.
our industry, yeah, our generation of Playboy and
Yep.
stuff too, and
Yep, and a little bit
yeah,
OF, and just even though it wasn't as big then, but it was just starting to really get out there, I think, at the time. And then we talked about missing people in Canada, when obviously then
that was
Amber,
insane. Yeah.
which was insane because it was, my childhood friend Amber had been found
Updates on
missing
that?
at the time, yeah, of this episode. And now just recently they're saying that like they don't believe they're going to ever find her, unfortunately. And they do believe that her boyfriend at the time had something involvement in it, and
Do with it.
unfortunately he's passed. So it just goes to show the system, and again, not to bring it all back to voting and government, but it does show, because they don't have resources to like, why are you releasing information 2 years after the fact, when 2 years ago that
Mhm.
was maybe a little bit more helpful at the time
Yeah.
to maybe get some answers? But now I don't know how helpful that's going to be, and that all goes back to they don't have resources to look up missing people in Canada, right? So that was a
Yeah.
very important episode for me, and I know it's actually one of the top episodes as well from that season,
Yeah.
which makes me really happy that people are wanting to like know about what's
That
going
was
on. And
nice. Yeah.
exactly, and like the highway where all the Indigenous women are going missing and stuff like that too, like that's still very prominent today. So I
Mhm.
suggest going back to 140 for sure if you're Canadian and listen to that. And then we ended the season of insanity with just men and women and just how we seen men being mistreated and
We had
women being
Dusty on that one,
mistreated.
didn't we?
Um, no, I
He
don't
didn't
think
come till
so.
later.
I don't think he came till later because I think I was trying to put notes on it, but
Was
I
that
could
one with
be
Kayla then?
wrong.
Was it me, you, and Kayla
Yes,
that did
yeah,
that one?
yeah,
Okay,
it
that
was
one.
like
Yeah.
all it was all the girlies on that one.
Yeah. Because I think the second one we did, we wanted to have Dusty on to have
Yes.
an actual male's perspective on it.
Yes, and I think that was more like you two too. And I know I had you guys on for
Yeah.
parenting as well. Let's see,
Yeah.
where was it? And then we go oh, there's the end of it.
I think that was Kayla and Dusty actually that did Men and Women, wasn't it?
They did an episode together for sure. Kayla did her own solo episode too in that
Yeah.
season, about missing people as well because she dove deeper into that one. Um, and I did an episode by myself
Hmm.
when I was on the island as like a quick. But no, I think it was all of us girls that did the men and women one. I think Dusty came back on in season.
Yeah.
He was in season end of season 4
Okay.
talking Clown World. That was our first episode together. And then we went
Hmm.
into season 6 where it was like essentially like Dee was in the background doing a lot of the research for us still,
Hmm.
but she wasn't on episode as much.
That was you and I face
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. And then we did, yeah. So that was like the season where it was like, I guess our last season together. Because I think halfway through is where you were kind of like, be going into
This
December, you're like, shit is getting crazy for me, and I don't know like about the end of this season. So I was like, okay, do
honestly,
2 more, and then you're good. And then we ended the
the
season.
worst part is that it was like such a shitty decision to make because yeah, bedtime was getting later for her and just the time difference just it was going to
Hard.
get trickier to film and I
Yeah,
just didn't want to have to like I don't know, bend you as further back than you already were with everything you do on the podcast. And I just felt like it would probably be easier if I just pulled like if I just
yeah,
if I can't give
totally.
100, don't give like 20.
Yeah,
Like you know what I mean? Like I just felt like shit about it. So yeah, it sucked, but
but you're still here. You
honestly,
came on the
you've
show.
fucking soared since, so it couldn't have been that bad of a.
Oh, it was. I'm not gonna. I just don't want you to feel guilty about. No, I'm just kidding. It was awful. No, I'm just kidding. It was a gradual for me, right? Like, because it's like it was, and as you learn, you get better too, and then you learn like where does my energy need to go, and do I want to keep doing this, and am I going to? And I had to just decide if I was going to do it, just do it going forward alone and have guests, and that's that. And I was able to do it totally fine. But it was just I was so glad that you guys have always been honest with me of being like, hey,
Yeah.
I don't want to stress about this. And that's the last thing I always wanted you guys to do. It was always supposed to be a net positive, even though there came with tribulations and stress, that there's a
Well,
difference
trying to make
though.
decisions that like that's why kind of where the decision came was just it's got to work for everyone, and I didn't
Totally.
really want anyone to be like compromising or feeling like they're not doing what they can, which was my thing. I didn't want to feel like I was like struggling and
Yeah.
just add an extra element of
Stress.
stress to me either,
Yeah.
like which is
Totally.
selfish enough. Yes, it is, but you have to wait till I'm
It's
done.
not selfish. It's absolutely what you should be doing as a parent too, right? Like, this is always a fun
Yeah.
project, right? And you jump on still to this day when you can, and we've always had
Yeah.
fun, right? And that's what it was turning into. It was like, I'm not going away. I just can't commit to a full-time position. And that's
Yeah.
totally understandable, especially because it makes no money. So like if it was helping
It's,
fund,
it wasn't that. It was just
no, but
it's just the time, and I didn't want to
yeah.
have to like commit to something and then be like the weak tit on this mama cat and not, you know.
Well, and from my mind, I'm like, if I could just get you retire you out of your oil field job and pay you to do this full time, that's where my head was going. So it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Like I completely understand, right?
Bring
And
it
it's
on.
exactly. And then the point is like conversation, then come up and have and be a guest, right? And talk about all the things that we'd like to talk about, which you have. So
For
yeah,
sure.
and what was fun about season 6 was our Keeping Up with Canada was the first time we did that episode where it felt like we could then focus
That was
on
a lot
Canada.
of fun.
Yeah, which was good because we learned a lot, and now we kind of know how to
Honestly,
look for things.
I feel like that's where like my more political minded and like thing kind of came about was like realizing that like
Holy
as
fuck.
much as we were kind of a part of the fuck it like
Yeah.
screw the system
Two
for a
birds,
bit,
system, bird,
you,
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it has evolved into like you got to use that system to benefit you. It's in place there. you can't get rid of it now. It
No.
is what it is. You got to use what we have to benefit us.
Infiltrate
So
it and fix it,
yeah,
right? Like we're not
yeah.
going anywhere, and by not being a part of it, it's actually being a part of it. You're part of the system regardless. It's just like what can we do, right? And your first episode with Joelle was in this season 6 as well. You had your first interview by yourself, and it
I
was
had
amazing.
so many people comment on that one. It was my
Yes,
favorite. Everyone,
yes,
they're like, dude, that was so good. And like, it felt
yeah,
like it was just like talking with girlfriends. And that's where me and Joe's friendship took off. And I still
yeah,
love her to bits. Hi,
yes,
Joe.
exactly.
Yeah, like,
So
I don't
cool.
know. That was a fun one. I almost don't even remember what we said because it was just like talking to a friend. Like it wasn't
Same.
structured. It was just
Yeah,
kind of like talking.
yeah, yeah.
It
Just mamas
went
to
to where it
mamas.
went
Yep.
naturally. You know,
Yes, yes. And you and Kayla had an episode too as well. I think it was in the last one.
wasn't that
Actually, I
about
think
being
I missed
parents
it.
too?
Yeah, about being parents. I think I missed that one. It might
Being
have.
moms.
Yeah, and you interviewed me as well, episode
Yeah.
119. You interviewed me about my miscarriages and my infertility
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff as well, which was really important. Maybe it wasn't season 6 that you guys did that one. Oh, yeah, we had the Be Real with Parenting with Dusty was 160.
Yeah.
And then we did the one before it was holidays, and we talked about the origins of Halloween
I love
and
that one. I
Christmas.
was
That was
thinking
a
about
good
that
one.
one today.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one
that
was
was
fun. I
fun.
remember those candy prices were like
Insane.
outrageously cheap, and like
Yep.
thinking about it, having to go buy candies this year was like, oh my god, bring back old school candy
I
prices.
definitely went on Halloween and spent 50% off. And then we talked about the beauty industry, like we said, and we've had a lot of changes in that area. So it is
Standards
fun. Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And then we talked about plastic surgery, which was the replacement of the episode that wasn't able to be aired for, keeping victims safe. That's the utmost importance to me as my
Yeah,
guests feel safe. And unfortunately, with all the NDAs that people have, she did not. So we just talked about plastic surgeries and the dangers, which was also amazing. And then,
which
yeah,
it is
keeping
and
up. Yeah,
needs to be talked about more.
100%. Yeah, and I actually do have a survivor that is like gearing herself up to come on the show, just kind of working through some things, and it's always open for everyone, always, obviously. And then um, we also have in our keeping up with Canada, we talked about maids for the first time on the show. We talked about universal basic income, the homelessness problem. Like I feel like we really
Yeah,
hit good topics for Canada on season 6. I feel like that was a massive like it was an
that was a
information one.
massive introduction, and it was done really well
Yeah,
for
I really
sure.
liked it. It was really great. And then I was preparing myself of like, okay, season 7, what's that going to look like?
It's gonna look
Um
different.
exactly. And then in our last keeping up with Canada, that so you that's what you ended with me for season 6 was talking about the pandemic and the aftermath and all of that, which felt really good to talk about.
Yeah,
Because I felt like we just kind of brushed over it, talked about it at the time, and but now it's like, okay, we said this stuff and
had
this is
time
what
to
happened.
process. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then we did our finale where we obviously announced that was your final co-host episode at the time. Obviously, we're like
Mhm.
as like boo, yeah. And then you came back in season 7 for another Keeping Up with Canada,
Yeah.
part 7 for government corruption, and that one was one of my favorite ones we did too.
Honestly, the government corruption one was good, and I still think about that wiki list, like the fact
Mm-hmm.
that it was so long, and all we did was like what
Reddit,
2010 and on,
yep,
like or
just
something
Reddit
2000 and on, even like it was crazy. It was like a fraction.
for action, yeah. And
I think
then
it was we did the current political part, like the current like the at the start of their term type thing. It
yeah,
started Justin's term.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Like that was like the tail end.
and realizing like the next 5-10 years still have to come out, like 5 years plus
Yeah,
still need to come out, and it
yeah,
wasn't
we're
even on there,
still
like nothing
examining it though,
COVID
and
except for a Rive scam.
it was a hefty
It was
list.
a hefty list, all liberals. So fucking remember, oh, you guys, next season, I am coming in so fucking hot with politics. It is our fucking federal year, and it is
Absolutely.
time, not time. I do this anyways, but that'll be my focus. Like this
No,
one is kind of
it's
more
gonna be good.
BC, but
You're gonna
next
go
year
off.
I'm gonna go off. Like, yeah, I would like to get deeper, talk to more people. Like, let's get really all the
Yeah,
Canadians
yeah.
out here talking together, bringing together,
Listening, putting
listening.
stories together. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of them. Like I'm so tired of hearing like, oh, well, and I'm not just saying this, I'm just spitballing comments I've seen online. It's like, oh, well, people don't have any jobs because of immigration. Like, is that actually true? Or what is it? Like, there's just comments that people are saying, like, like, is Trudeau our real problem? Are there other people that we need to be looking out for that are around him that aren't good? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
get a little bit deeper in it.
It's not necessarily like it's the environment too, right? Like, so it's not
Exactly.
just like one person, it's the people that have been
Totally.
appointed and that are surrounding.
Yeah, and we're responsible by not paying attention.
Yeah.
This is how we got to where we at. So what's personal responsibility, what are our civic duties is what I'd like to
Yeah.
focus on. But
Yeah.
then you did come back twice now in season 8. Obviously we're still halfway through, we don't know. Probably see you again one more time for season
Oh,
8.
for sure.
And we did cults, which is, a follow-up of some of the cults, which is my favorite.
New religious
Sorry,
movements.
new religious
Please
moments. My bad, my
come
bad.
on.
I'm probably gonna get canceled for that. And then
Yeah,
this one, your
honestly, that one was
55th.
pretty funny, solely for the fact that like as soon as we like got into it and started looking, and we both like messaged each other like, "Have you like seen this? That apparently it's not called cults anymore.
It's
Like,
not,
am
'cause
I
it's
alone in
offensive.
this like weird search that I'm in? New religious movement? What the fuck is that? Like, it was
And like,
so weird.
and yeah, it's just like renaming MLM something else. It's like you
Yeah, it was
can
just
put.
like, yeah,
Nice try
yeah, it
though.
was
We
just
still
very
find you.
bizarre, and it made me giggle. It's almost like here we had this reserve that was like notorious for being just shitty. It was called the Hobima Reserve,
Okay.
and they renamed it to Masquachese, and it just made us laugh because everyone says, "Well, what do you mean Masquachese?" Yeah, the old or it's the new Hobima. Like it's still associated with Hobima and all the
Yeah,
crap of Hobima, so
it's so fun.
it's
You can
very
rename
much
stuff,
that.
but
Yeah, same shit, different pile.
yeah, exactly. But what I think I love the most is like the connections that I have with you
Mhm.
girls, with like,
Yeah,
guests and stuff, and just like, I very much shy away from like the compliments because I'm like, I'm just listening, I'm
dude,
just
it's so good.
editing, I'm just giving
You're
people
not
maybe
though.
I know,
You're just everything of the podcast. Like, dude, I'm
there's
just
a lot.
everything. It's not a big deal.
I just trying so hard, but I also too wanted to make sure, like, I didn't want you guys to feel pressure. I wanted you guys to have fun. I
Yeah,
wanted it always to be positive, and you knew that, and learn stuff too. Like, what can I teach you as I'm learning? And like, I hope you guys
yeah,
all see the growth. Like, if we go back, I do want to do maybe at the end of season 8, just like a progression of my
recap for
background. Like,
sure.
I've always had lights, but like, guys, I have okay. So there's 2 string lights going on right now. Two of my photography lights going on. A string light at the bottom,
I love it.
ring light here, and
Lighten
then
it up.
yeah, and then a sign here. But like before, it was just like a pink chair, and that was it, and a little string lights in the back, right? So
I
it's
love
like
it.
I love
Progression.
seeing, yeah. And like last episode, I don't know if people realized, in season 98, I actually threw a picture and a video of an audio clip in as well. Again, if my laptop's fast enough, I could do more of those things. So just exciting to see, like, even season 8, I'm still very much new and fresh, and I feel very grateful, without all of you guys, without other guests. Like, I wouldn't be able to do
Yeah,
that too. I understand that I organize it, but if I didn't have people to talk to, I don't know that I could always just do it by myself. Like,
I love that.
they're fun
I'd also
episodes, but
look to put out there a PSA to all parents. This right here, this whiny crap, is
it's,
post Halloween.
yeah,
This
it's
is the
candy, isn't
candy,
it?
the candy garbage.
Yeah,
This is what we talk. Okay, you're fine. We talk about at one point
yeah,
is how
guys,
crappy everything is for children.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely miserable.
And you know what? It's good. It's good to have these conversations. It's good to be real about it. It's good to
100%.
share, right? And that's why I've
I
always
know,
wanted
right?
everyone to be real about it. Like, anybody comes on, and we've had other kids or family interrupting or spouses. Like, it doesn't matter. That's real life. I had someone ask me, like, do I edit out? Like, oh, you don't edit anything? I'm like, no, unless
No,
something like glitches. But why would
yeah.
I? Because he said,
Unless it's something serious, that's life,
why?
baby.
It is life. And are you talking to your friends? So you go talk to your friends on the phone. Do you tell them to shut their kid up in the background? Like,
Yeah. Can you
no. And
please shut your child up? I can't hear you.
exactly.
No,
And
it's
like, it
life.
happens. And I'm just appreciative of your time and all my guests' time, that it's like, hey man, you got a kid, you got kids. Like, people don't want to hear that. That's fine. Go listen to Joe Rogan, or, call her
Right?
daddy, and that's fine. Like, I want to be authentic, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
proud of the podcast, is that I've never strayed away. I hope it's visible of like just honestly caring
Absolutely.
about people and being honest.
Totally.
And my
I love
opinions
it.
change. Doesn't mean that I can't grow, but I'm
I
going to
love
be
it.
honest, right? And like, we've changed on so many different things. Like we said, going from crunchy to like, yeah, you know what? My hair
To
is
mid
looking like
crunch.
life,
You're like
like mid crunch. Yeah.
you're like a scrunchy.
Yeah, exactly. Like a little Rice Krispie in my
Semi
chocolate,
crunchy.
Not like a
Yeah.
full blown peanut, but like a little
You're like
crispy.
amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
right? And I feel
I
like you
love
had that,
it.
and it's everyone's place. And I'm tired of being a judgmental cunt, of being like,
Yeah.
wow, you're eating out of a plastic bowl. Like, it's your fucking journey. Eat whatever you
Yeah.
goddamn want. I don't care. I'm going to share my
Yeah.
information, but I'm no longer like invested in what
I'm not
everyone.
bothered as much as I used to be.
Do what you want. We're
I
all
think
gonna
it's
fucking.
crazy the light difference from the beginning of this
I
damn thing.
know.
Like
I
this is
know.
Alberta like
I
fall for
know.
you.
Yes,
You're in the dark
and
at
fall
5:30.
ahead, or fall back. Sorry, fall ahead. I wish it was fall
Oh
ahead
god,
on your
it's yeah,
face,
I
not
like the extra hour of sleep, but like this
yeah.
darkness, I'm over it.
I'm very
5:30.
over it.
joke.
I see Evie poking her head up, but yeah, it's been amazing. I like, and honestly, Hales, like I said, like there's seasons that I would not been able to get through without you, and you know that. And even just like as friendships and watching your family grow, and just as friends and as a co-host, like I
It's
appreciate
been
it.
fucking
It's been
crazy.
fun. Yeah. And like I feel like it's just like the coolest friendship. Like no, and like we haven't even met yet. I said to Adriana, I was like, you
No,
got to meet Haley before I did. She's like, shut up. I'm like, I know. We gotta make
we
it happen.
physically have never met,
Never.
and
Oh
it
yeah, me
just like
too.
it doesn't seem like it though.
No,
Like
it
it's
feels
gonna be
like we
so
grew up
surreal
together.
when we're standing in front of each other. Like
It's gonna be weird. It was weird when me and
it's
Kayla
gonna
were
be
just
one of
like
those, you're
hugged, but
taller or shorter than I thought, or like this is not what I was expect. Like it's just gonna
I
be
know
very
you're
surreal, and
gonna
I
be
can't
like,
wait.
oh, your ass is just as huge as it looks online. Just
Right?
kidding.
Oh my god, you are a voluptuous hoe. I love
You
it.
have a Latino booty and you're just so white.
Yee.
Amazing. But I think it will be. And I think it's just like, again, ode to just being completely honest with each other and just always
Absolutely.
being real with each other, no matter what, in our hardest times. And honestly, I've said this with Kayla. If you people ever want to start something with friends, you just do it and you just have to be honest and communicate at the end
Yeah.
of the day. And your friendship, once you get through all of it, because you are vulnerable, you're stressed out, you're doing shit that you've never done before, the unity and the bond that you have once you get through that and the communication that you build and it's just so cool. And I just
Yeah.
highly recommend people doing passion projects with their friends and just fucking throwing it all in there and just do it. And if you
Yeah.
fail, then you fail, but have fun. If you have fun, you didn't fail.
Like I'm teaching Evie right now. You got to get back up on that horse.
You do,
If you
girly.
fall or make a mistake, that's okay, but you got to try it at least once more. You got to try it again. If
Absolutely.
at
And
first you
just
don't
keep
succeed,
going.
try again. That's what I
Yeah.
grew up on.
And be a stubborn person. Be an
Yeah.
ass, right? Like
Yeah.
just don't stop.
Stubbornness is not a bad thing.
No, and you only actually fail if you quit. And sometimes you have to quit because some things aren't meant for you.
Yeah.
But this
And
this feels meant to be to me. Like
it
it's
flows so well,
it
honestly,
does.
with all the trials and tribulations that you go through, it still works so well. So like how
Yeah.
could it not be?
And everyone's so patient and graceful with me and I appreciate it. Like all my guests, if something happens, or you guys with like audio and some episodes, like it happens, and everyone, no one has ever bitched to me. Everyone has always just been so loving and supporting, and so you guys make it happen, you make it go
Yeah.
on. My co-host, my guests, like it means so much. And
I
I will
love
never
that.
stop for the, maybe when I get a kid, if we have a child, like
He
I could
threatens
see
that
it
she's
being
gonna
harder.
stop and she hasn't yet. I don't
I
think she
haven't.
plans to, so don't listen to her.
I know. And I think one day it would be cool to have like a team to edit and do the stuff that I just don't feel like I'm progressing in as much as I'd like to. I really
Mhm.
like the connection part. I don't like the content creating, but I'll do it all to be able to do this.
You see her face. She sees herself in the thing in the
Who's
screen, and
that
she's
pretty
like, "Her face
girl?
is herself."
Well, Hales, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I really
Oh,
appreciate
dude,
you
I
as
love you.
always.
You know
I
I'll be
love you.
back. It
Always,
wasn't
yeah.
a goodbye forever. It was just
No.
a step
Pause.
back.
Yeah,
Stop.
absolutely. And like again, background liking, posting, telling me like that that
Fuck
that's
yeah,
what I
I'm.
need.
You know I'm here for
Yeah, you
sure.
fill my cup, and that's like, that's what I've always needed, is just people to fill my cup and remind me to keep going, whether
For
you're on
sure.
screen or not. And
Always.
that's what matters. And everyone that's listening, like, tell me, please. It's helpful.
Yeah.
Like, even if you
Feedback.
think, yeah, if you think you're annoying, it's because like y'all, I run 5 platforms by myself. Sometimes I do not have the mental capacity to speak, but if I've liked it, I've seen it, I appreciate you. Pretend I'm hugging you because that's what it feels like. But I also have my own personal life, and I try to be no more than 2 hours on social media a day. So just know that, because
Honestly, I the
girl,
best thing I've
it's
done for
hard.
myself in the last month was delete the Instagram app, and I only go on the internet, which is maybe once every few days I go on for maybe like
Exactly.
10-15 minutes, or I'll go check my messages, answer them, and that's it. And it's
And escape.
been wow.
Exactly. And that's where I'm
Wow.
at, right?
It's
Especially with all of
great.
it. I'm like, this is too much. So please don't ever think that if I don't answer right away, or by much that I don't love it. I do. And it helps me break out
Oh,
of all of
careful.
this. So as always, guys, thank you for the support, the love. Hails you too. And until next time, guys, bye. Thank you guys so much for the support. I cannot thank you enough for being here. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, please give me a follow at the Be Real Babe podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and Pinterest. You can also find me on Facebook at the Be Real Collective. Until next time, guys, bye.